We spoke to Jacob Rees-Mogg around an hour ago. He said this was frankly cynical, not only trying to garner more votes for yourself, but possibly a backdoor into another referendum on EU membership.
Well, look, I think let's put this in context. This is an internal Labour Party discussion about policies ahead of the next general election. There are many more stages to go through before things get in the manifesto, so this is not our policy yet. But let's be really clear here. Whenever we're discussing things around voting, it's a delicate issue. Things should be carefully considered about how they would work in practice and so on. You know, I think there is a general principle that if you are contributing to society, if you're paying your taxes, then you should have some kind of say over what happens in your local area. But as I say, there's a lot more Labour Party process to go through here before the general election manifesto is decided on.
Yeah, and it's an interesting principle that you talk about because it's not reciprocated, is it? In the European Union, British citizens and expats living there don't get to have a vote on national issues. So that would be unique to the UK under Labour, and some people seeing it and going as far as calling it vote rigging or even gerrymandering.
Well, look, I think whatever we decide in terms of the manifesto for the Labour Party will be the best decision for the UK. You know, we need to put the UK at the front of our minds when considering what the right approach is for us. But as I say, these are delicate issues. They need to be carefully considered. This is not Labour Party manifesto policy. This is a discussion, an internal discussion within the Labour Party that will happen over summer and into autumn and beyond. So, you know, I think that some of the reactions to it are getting a bit ahead of themselves. And I think really we should think about, you know, what do we need to do to strengthen our democracy in all sorts of ways, you know, not just in terms of voting, but also about restoring trust in politicians and in politics after all the damage done under the Conservatives.
Do you strengthen that democracy, James, by allowing 16-year-olds to vote? I mean, that's not going to repel a lot of people. A lot of us think we knew everything about the world at 16, and you're allowed to do a lot of things at 16. Why shouldn't you be allowed to vote?
Well, I think there's a good argument for 16 and 17-year-olds being able to vote. As you say, 16, 17-year-olds can, you know, get married, join the army, pay taxes. You know, they're playing a part in society. There's a good argument for them having a say in elections. You know, so that's one of the other policies which is being considered as part of this Labour Party internal process, which will ultimately be something which is considered when the next manifesto is put together.
Tell me this, Keir Starmer was talking over the weekend about his reforms to the Labour Party being like the Clause 4 reforms on steroids. Now, to anyone who hasn't followed Labour closely over the years, those were the Tony Blair changes which introduced New Labour. What does he mean by this being on steroids? What changes is he going to bring in?
Well, look, what Keir Starmer meant is that the change that we need to make to the Labour Party has to be deep and fundamental and long-lasting. And it's really important to make those changes so that we are right next to working people across Britain, so that we can be a political home for people who want a better future for themselves, for their family and for our country. And that is what he meant in terms of making the Labour Party in that position to deliver for the aspirations of the British people.